Okay, hi Pete, how you doing? I've got you queued up here, and I want to take a look at a couple of things together. The first thing I want to look at is the um, Milestone Rubric. So submit the feature, spread text, headline text, and subhead text. Excuse me, of your magazine cover contents page and feature spread. You'll also be able to indicate blah 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 blah. Show 5 digital typographic studies for your magazine cover, using your masthead cover image and all subtext for a cover. Show 5 digital images for your magazine spread and for your contents page. Okay, so just keeping that in mind, let's go and take a look at what we have. Okay, there's our, oh, by the way, thanks for resubmitting this in a smaller file size. So here's our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mass cover studies. Let me show you what is going to happen here in a real world critique. Okay, what we have here is we don't necessarily have 5 magazine concepts that we're studying. We have 5 iterations of the same concept, and that concept being that the car on the beach with the starburst behind the building, and then this cluster of type right here. Okay. Also, by this time, you should have your masthead already nailed down. Okay. As far as typography goes, I think you're trying to do too much with image and with like this starburst thing and this, first and foremost, keep in mind, this is typography. Okay, so you're trying to be as expressive as you can with typography, with relying on image and other illustrative techniques as little as possible. So in other words, a really well-designed typographic piece doesn't need to rely on other things to try to help it stand together from a design perspective. Okay, this typography, this little cluster of typography right here, is not bad. It looks good. It's set pretty nicely. The problem is it's not set up like a magazine. Well, I'll talk about that in a second. Talking about your layout and everything else, I just want to say that this is not following a lot of the typographic elements that we have learned so far. For example, look how tight this kerning is right here, and how tight this stuff is right here. And I know the reason you did that was to try to fit it in there, but if you move away from your screen a little bit, you'll see that it's no longer visible or legible at a few feet away, which means it's just not, it's a nice little piece of typographic composition. However, I don't think it's suitable for the cover of a magazine. I think that you're going to have to open up that legibility, open up that kerning, that leading, and really let people see what you're saying here. Okay. And the same thing with the rest of them. It's all just grouped together here. So where there's no variation in typography whatsoever. So in other words, this is what I'm saying is that by this time you should have your masthead nailed down, and you should have 5 different layout studies for this, okay, instead of 5 variations of the same study. Okay, let's go to the contents page. Okay, again, you got your typography all jammed up here in the corner, and you're trying to say so much with image that the image is overtaking the typography completely. Again, remember, this is typography class. Let's go to the next content page. Same thing. You just have this tendency to push your design all the way to the corners and fill everything in the page instead of gently introducing information and using white space in a interesting way. Same thing here. Okay, so I just want to suggest that you do a little bit more visual research. Okay. Okay, again, you have your interior, you have your interior type and you have your images set up, but I'm going to go ahead and say that we have some, this is pretty much, again, the same thing. It's the same iteration that we have. It's different variations of the same concept. Okay, so that being this 2 column each page, 4 column headline at the top, images scattered throughout. Okay, here it is again. 4 columns, images, uh, uh, um, um, headline at the top, images. Okay, 4 columns, same difference. 4 columns, same thing again. Okay, so again, we're seeing the same variation of the same, different variations of the same concept. Remember, okay, look how tight your kerning is. Okay, and that's going to start look like the same letter once you get a little bit further from your. This right here is set pretty nicely, but you're not paying attention to little typographic things. For instance, you've got, what's this line right here ends before this? It's I don't understand. It shouldn't be there. That's an unusual space right there. Also, you have, that would be considered a widow. So would that. That definitely is. Okay, so what I'm saying is that is a widow, that's a widow. So really, you're doing. I mean, I think you're designing this more of a magazine and less as a typography um, assignment. Okay, see, look how tight that leading and kerning is. It's almost illegible. So this isn't. I'd like to really let me give you some examples. Okay, and then what I'd like you to do is move on. We don't really have time to polish up what we have here. So just take my comments and move forward. Let me show you some visual examples. And okay, first let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at right here. And let's just take a look at your typical car magazine. Okay, so you can see that there's no, for some reason, car magazines, okay, we have this 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, I don't know if this is 3 or 3.5, but there's no grid here. It's very randomly designed. Okay, it's not following a tight grid. I'll show you a tight grid in a sec. Let me show you another. This is a sailboat, but it's kind of the same thing. Here you have a pretty good grid, each following a 4-column grid. But see, the images are just kind of thrown in. There's just no logical order. Here's one again. It's just this randomness that we seem to find in this genre of magazines, being car magazines. So my theory here is that you're looking at car magazines to get your inspiration for designing your car magazine. Okay, so that's probably, I don't think it's a good way. Let me show you another visual example here. And this one is more where I think you're going to find a little bit more attention being paid to typography. And that's in, I just went in here, I did a web search for RT Design Magazine interior spread. Okay, and look at what we get. Look at this beautiful interior spread. Okay, you got this. Here's a 4-column on the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4-column on the left, 1, 2, and then this is 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and then you have this beautiful alignment right here. Everything is aligned beautifully. Okay, this is weird where this little piece of text starts on this side of the fold. That's an artsy thing. So look, this one's different. As far as traditional type goes, things like this are what we kind of want to see. That's nice layout. Okay, so you see what I'm saying? And I don't know if you looked at the videos, but I had some pretty good stuff in there for you guys to look at, some examples of good layouts. So I just want you to kind of really step back and take some research in and just take a look at good layouts. Okay, here's just a good, nice 4-column. Okay, but again, a lot of these I'm looking at the grid, and I want you to really think about using typography to communicate in, okay, for example, this is all a typographic spread. You have one image here. Okay, now let's take a look at your work where there's just images everywhere. It's very, very distracting to the typography. So I'd like you to step back a little bit, slow down, take a good close look at what you're doing and the reasons that you're doing it. I want you to try to use more white space and just to really try to to concentrate on typographic alignment and basic elements of typography that will be looked at in your portfolio. Okay? Moving forward, I'm saying. So you're good right here. Okay? All right. Thanks very much.